As the sun set, a new fire rose from the ashes, threatening to consume everything in its path.
The ash falls like snow, a grim reminder of the inferno raging just beyond the tree line. The mountain had kept its secret for centuries, but now, as the ash began to fall, they knew their time was running out. The fire had jumped the line. We knew if we stayed, we wouldn't make it through the night.
They thought the ridge would hold it. They were wrong. The fire had only just begun its march.
The wind shifted, bringing the fire closer than they anticipated. They had minutes, maybe seconds, before the real danger arrived.
When the forest breathes its last breath, the animals flee. Nature always knows first.
Below the ridge was their best chance for water. But with the wind shifting, the smoke was becoming a greater threat than they anticipated.
We trained for every scenario, but the speed of the blaze caught us off guard. We had minutes. We had to keep moving. If that fire caught us in the open, we wouldn't stand a chance.
When the forest burns, you follow the water. It was their only hope, a desperate gamble against the approaching flames. They knew the creek offered their best chance, but the air was thick, and the roar of the blaze grew louder by the second. They thought they were safe above the creek, but the ash told a different story. The fire was coming. There was nowhere left to run.
With the fire closing in, the clearing was their only hope. They had to keep moving, no matter the cost.
Night fell quickly, but brought little comfort. The wind carried the scent of smoke, a reminder that the sanctuary was only temporary.
They knew the darkness held more than just shadows.
Survival depended on silence, signals, and trusting the wind.
A single ember, a fleeting promise of warmth, yet enough to draw unwanted attention in the encroaching darkness. They knew the slightest spark could betray their position, but the roar in the distance suggested they had already been found. When the smoke arrived, it brought with it the heat of 1,000 suns, erasing everything in its path.
The fire moved faster than they anticipated. They had only hours, maybe minutes.
Every second counted. With the fire closing in, Jack knew they had to push forward or be consumed by the smoke and flames. The fire doesn't sleep. It breathes, it consumes, and it's coming closer than we ever thought possible. We had to cross before the others caught up. Silence was paramount.
The wind howled like a beast unleashed, carrying the ashes of what was left behind.
They knew the fire was close, but they had to keep moving if they wanted to survive the night. When the world burned, the old ones knew it was time to move. Survival was the only law left. They called this a fuel break, a line in the sand. But tonight, it was just another path for the beast. They had reached the firebreak, but the danger was far from over. The wind howled, and the distant roar of the wild... The wind was the first sign. It spoke of the coming storm, and the fire that followed.
The smoke was thick, the air thin. Every breath was a gamble, but they had to keep moving.
Nightfall brought little comfort. The beast was growing, and it was hungry.
They knew the fire was coming, but they never expected it to move this fast. Now it was a race against time and the wind.
The firebreak was meant to stop the inferno, but the wind carried the danger right over the fallen timber. They knew the risks of the firebreak, yet the inferno behind them left no other choice.
The wind carries the remnants of the blaze, tiny sparks searching for new fuel in the encroaching night.
They called it a firebreak, a line drawn in the dirt. Tonight, it was all that stood between them and the blaze. Above, the inferno consumed the sky. But below the firebreak, this small...
The dip offered temporary shelter, a brief moment to regroup before facing the slope. But the orange glow meant time was running out.
Above the firebreak, the sky bled orange. It was a warning, a promise of the inferno yet to come.
Nightfall brought a temporary reprieve, but the smoke obscured their path. The sanctuary of the high ground would have to wait until dawn.
Even the smallest creatures know the scent of danger. In this barren land, survival is a fleeting moment of shadow.
When the fire came, there was nowhere left to run. Only the ridge offered a moment's respite from the inferno below.
When the sun sets, the real danger begins. This fire won't stop for nightfall.
Hope rested on this ridge. If the signal failed, they might never be found.
We thought we were safe on the ridge, but the embers proved us wrong. The fight for survival had just begun.
The ridge offered a view of the end, a horizon swallowed by fire. Survival wasn't about hope. The smoke thins, the stars emerge, but the cold remains. On this unforgiving ridge, they faced their greatest challenge. Their only hope was a message written. The signal stands as a monument to what we lost. Below, the valley sleeps in smoke.
We watched as the fire consumed everything we knew. It was only a matter of time before it consumed us too.
In the wilderness, fire is life. But this fire, this was a promise. On the ridge, survival was measured in the smallest victories.
Hey, since the crash, this smoke is our only chance now.
The smoke rose thick and orange against the cool morning air. All they could do now was wait and watch the valley below.
The ridge was our only escape, but as the wind turned, so did our fate. The fire had found a new path. They knew the ridge offered little protection. The service road was their only chance, despite the smoke behind them.
This ridge offered a path away from the flames, yet the loose scree and dangerous footing meant survival was far from guaranteed. The ancient woods had stood for centuries, yet even they could not withstand the fury that rained down from the ridge.
The snap zone was active. Jack knew they had only seconds to find cover before the entire ridge gave way. We watched it come for days, a beast of smoke and flame. The fire stops for no one. They had reached the firebreak, but the inferno was gaining.
This wasn't just a fire, it was an inferno, and we were standing right in its path, hoping the line would hold.
They knew the air wouldn't hold much longer. The only way out was through the ash, and time was running out.
The forest had burned for days, but this was different. The wind was turning, and soon there would be nowhere left to run.
Day 42. Supplies were low, and the air was getting thicker.
Low on fuel and exposed to the elements, this wide gravel turnout was our last resort.
They waited, hoping the signal had reached them.
The smoke had followed them for miles. But in the haze, they hoped the signal would finally reach someone. They watched the sky, praying the approaching hum wasn't just the wind.
After weeks in the wilderness, salvation finally arrived. They were safe now, but the journey had changed them.
Survival out here wasn't about luck. It was about preparation and the will to keep moving through the smoke.
They thought they were safe, but the fire followed. The only way out was through the smoke, and time was running out.
The road to safety was long, yet the journey home had finally begun.
The fire took everything we knew. All that was left was the road, and the hope of escape.
Though they had found a way out, the forest itself was slowly being swallowed by the smoke.